Yeah, Gurudev, yes. In the West Wing, we see numerous moments where leaders must make difficult decisions under intense pressure. How can spiritual practices like Sudarshan Kriya help leaders make decisions with clarity and wisdom? Decision making is often clouded by emotional turbulence and external pressures. So, Darshan, Kriya, and Pranayama work on clearing mental clutter, helping leaders remain calm and focused, especially during high stakes moments. When a leader practices these techniques regularly, they cultivate inner peace and clarity, enabling them to approach decision making with a calm mind. In the West Wing, President Bartlett frequently faces tough decisions like when he chooses to withhold military action to ensure full verification. This decision comes from his ability to step back and look at the bigger picture, a practice that can be enhanced through meditation. In the Vedic tradition, decision making is an expression of dharma, and clarity comes when the mind is free from distractions. Through practices like Agni Karam and Trikal Sandhya, leaders align themselves with the divine will, which helps them act with wisdom and integrity. Just like Bartlett, who makes complex decisions that weigh heavily on him, spiritual practices offer a way to clear one's mind and hear the voice of intuition, which guides better, more compassionate choices. The peace and stillness cultivated through these practices lead to decisions that are aligned with the higher good. Compassion plays a huge role in leadership, especially in moments when characters like Bartlett and Leo display empathy in tough times. How can meditation and other spiritual practices help leaders lead with greater compassion? Compassion is a natural byproduct of spiritual practices. Meditation, particularly Sudarshan Kriya, helps in developing deeper understanding and connection to others' emotions, in cultivating empathy and the ability to listen without judgment, which is essential for compassionate leadership. In the West Wing, Bartlett often shows deep empathy, like when he comforts Leo after his relapse or when he shields his staff from political backlash. His ability to care deeply for others despite the personal cost is a clear demonstration of compassionate leadership, a quality that can be enhanced through meditation and mindfulness practices. Compassion in leadership comes from an understanding of seva or selfless service. The Vedic teachings emphasize the importance of caring for others not just as a duty, but as a natural expression of our interconnectedness. Practices like Gayatri Japa and Pujas enhance the heart's serenity, allowing leaders to develop true empathy. In the West Wing, we see leaders like Leo and Caesar constantly putting others first, understanding their pain and acting from a place of deep care. Spiritual practices allow leaders to see beyond personal biases and act with genuine compassion. In the West Wing, often portrays characters reflecting on their actions, such as Bartlett contemplating his role as president. How can spiritual practice encourage leaders to engage in deep reflection? Spiritual practices create a space for leaders to pause and reflect on their actions, motivations, and impacts through regular meditation and satsang. Leaders can connect with their inner wisdom and reflect on their true purpose and goals. In the West Wing, Bartlett spends a significant amount of time reflecting on his decisions, his leadership, and his personal struggles. The ability to reflect allows him to adjust his course and lead with greater awareness. This introspective quality is developed through daily spiritual practices, which provide the necessary quietude for such reflections. Reflection or swadhyaya is an essential practice in Vedic philosophy. It encourages individuals to look inward, understand their actions, and recognize their true essence. Meditation practices such as Trikalsan, they help leaders maintain a disciplined routine that fosters self-awareness. This inward journey helps in identifying what truly matters, aligning actions with dharma. As we see in the West Wing, characters like Bartlett engage in moments of deep personal reflection, seeking guidance not just from advisors but from within. Spiritual practices provide the tools to lead with wisdom gained from reflection. Ethics are tested time and again in the West Wing, particularly when characters must choose between what's politically advantageous and what's morally right. How can spiritual practices support ethical decision making? Ethical dilemmas often arise when there is a disconnect between inner values and external pressures. Meditation, especially practices like Sudarshan Kriya, helps leaders reconnect with their core values, enabling them to act in alignment with their principles. This internal clarity helps them choose the morally right path, even when it is not the popular or easy option. In the West Wing, we see Bartlett make tough ethical choices Like when he chooses not to support the anti gay marriage bill, even though it cost him politically, his ability to act on his values despite the consequences demonstrates the power of ethical leadership, which can be supported through regular spiritual practice. The Vedic teachings emphasize living according to dharma or righteous duty and making choices that align with the universal values. Spiritual practices like sadhana, mantra chanting, and puja help leaders connect to a higher moral compass, helping them navigate ethical challenges. In the West Wing, characters like Toby and CJ often find themselves at moral crossroads, and their ability to make ethically sound decisions is a reflection of their inner strength, developed through wisdom and spiritual practice. By consistently engaging in practices that align them with their drama and dharma, leaders can maintain integrity even in the most difficult circumstances. Many characters in the West Wing are concerned with the legacy that they will leave behind, such as Santos working on long term education reforms. How can spiritual and practices contribute to building a legacy of service and impact? A legacy of service is built when leaders act selflessly, focusing on the greater good rather than personal achievement. Practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Satsang help leaders cultivate the qualities of humility, compassion, and selflessness, which are essential for creating a lasting impact. In the West Wing, Santos's commitment to education reform, despite the obstacles, is driven by a deep sense of purpose beyond political gain. Spiritual practices enable leaders to stay focused on their long term vision and impact, creating a legacy that serves a collective well being. In Vedic philosophy, creating a legacy of service aligns with the principle of seva, selfless action for the benefit of others. Practices like sadhana and Gayatri Japa help leaders channel their energy into actions that have a lasting impact on society. Just as Santos is committed to education reform, a leader who engages in spiritual practices ensures that their work is in alignment with higher values, and they create a legacy of service that benefits generations to come. This sense of purpose, guided by spiritual practices, helps leaders focus on making a positive and enduring difference. The West Wing is filled with moments of crisis, but many of them result in positive change, like Bartlett's response to national tragedies. How can spiritual practices help leaders turn crisis into opportunities for growth? Crises often bring about intense emotions and confusion. However, through spiritual practices like Sudarshan Kriya, leaders can maintain clarity and calmness even in the face of chaos. This clarity allows them to transform crises into opportunities for innovation, growth, and service. In the West Wing, Bartlett consistently uses crisis as moments to reflect on deeper values, such as when he addresses the nation after a tragic school shooting. His ability to use such moments as opportunities for growth and healing is a testament to his leadership and inner strength, which can be enhanced through spiritual practices. In the Vedic tradition, crisis is seen as an opportunity for transformation. This principle of dharma teaches that adversity is a natural part of life and that it can lead to greater wisdom and growth. Leaders who engage in spiritual practices like Agni-karyam and sadhana can transform these difficult moments into opportunities to realign with their higher purpose. As we see in the West Wing, Bartlett's handling of crises such as the school shooting or Zoe's kidnapping reveals his ability to lead with grace under pressure. Spiritual practices provide the tools for leaders to navigate such moments with poise and wisdom. Jai Gurudev. So, through the teachings of His Holiness Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji and the practices of the art of living, leaders can cultivate the qualities necessary to navigate the complex challenges of leadership, be it in politics, business, or any other field. The principles of humility, compassion, resilience, and service reflected in the West Wing and enhanced through spiritual practices can guide leaders toward creating positive change both for themselves and the society they serve. By integrating Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, Sadhana, and other techniques into their daily routine, leaders can develop a deeper sense of clarity, purpose, and ethical responsibility. These practices offer the tools necessary to transform challenges into opportunities and lead with integrity, compassion, and wisdom. As we see with characters in the West Wing, true leadership is about serving the greater good, and with spiritual practices, leaders can find the strength and wisdom to do just that. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev, yes, leadership in the West Wing often requires intense focus and awareness. How can the practice of mindfulness through techniques like Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama support leaders in staying present and making mindful decisions? Mindfulness is essential in leadership because it helps leaders stay grounded, focused, and connected to the present moment. Sudarshan Kriya is a powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness by releasing accumulated stress and clearing the mind, allowing leaders to act from a place of clarity. In the West Wing, characters like Josh and CJ are often under extreme pressure, but their ability to stay composed and focused on the task at hand shows the importance of mindfulness in leadership. When leaders can be present with their thoughts and actions, they are better equipped to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In the Vedic tradition teaches that mindfulness is a form of dhyana or meditation which is central to the spiritual path. Practices such as Sandhya Vandanam and Sadhana help cultivate the kind of awareness that is necessary by conscious decision making. In the West Wing, we see leaders like Bartlett, especially during moments of personal crisis, maintaining a deep sense of presence. This mindfulness allows them to make decisions that are not just reactive but deeply aligned with their values. By engaging in daily spiritual practices, leaders can enhance their ability to stay mindful in the midst of challenging situations. Gratitude is a powerful quality, and it seems to be a thread that runs through many characters in the West Wing. How can the practice of gratitude, supported by spiritual practices like satsang and Sudarshan Kriya, influence leadership? Gratitude has a transformative power because it shifts the mind from focusing on problems to recognizing the abundance and blessings in life. Leaders who practice gratitude are more positive, approachable, and able to see the bigger picture. Practices like satsang and Sudarshan Kriya encourage an attitude of gratitude by helping individuals release negative emotions and appreciate the present moment. In the West Wing, characters like Leo, Bartlett, and CJ often display gratitude for their teams and the opportunities they have, even in tough times. Gratitude can fuel a leader's resilience and positivity, making them more capable of inspiring their teams. In the Vedic teachings, gratitude is a key component of bhakti or devotion, and it is a practice that connects individuals with the divine and the larger flow of life. Practicing Gayatri Japa, mantra chanting, and puja instills a sense of gratitude which is reflected in a leader's ability to appreciate and uplift others. In the West Wing, we see this in characters like Toby, who, despite his tough exterior, is deeply grateful for his team and the work they do. Spiritual practices provide the grounding necessary to cultivate this gratitude, which ultimately supports leaders in creating positive and inclusive environment. One recurring theme in the West Wing is that leaders must take decisive action even when faced with uncertainty. How does spiritual practice influence a leader's ability to act with confidence and clarity in times of ambiguity? Action is a result of clarity and inner peace. Leaders who practice Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama develop mental clarity, which enables them to make quick, confident decisions. These practices help clear the mind of fear and doubt, allowing leaders to take action with conviction. In the West Wing, President Bartlett, despite his internal struggles, is able to make swift decisions, such as invoking the 25th Amendment to address the national crisis after Joyce's kidnapping. His decisiveness comes from an ability to connect with his higher purpose, a quality that can be enhanced through regular meditation. In the Vedic tradition, the importance of karma yoga, selfless action, is emphasized through consistent spiritual practice. Leaders can develop the strength to take action without attachment to the outcome. Practices like Agni Karyam and Sadhana support leaders in channeling their energy into focused action that is aligned with their values. As we see in the West Wing, characters like Josh, who initially struggles with burnout, ultimately learn how to act decisively, taking on leadership responsibilities with a sense of purpose. Spiritual tools like these help leaders to act confidently, especially when faced with uncertainty or moral dilemmas. Throughout the West Wing, there are many moments of failure, whether political, personal, or professional. How can spiritual practices help leaders view failure as an opportunity for growth rather than a setback? Spiritual practices teach leaders to detach from the need for success and to view failure as a natural part of the learning process. Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama create a calm, centered mind that is less reactive to setbacks, allowing leaders to learn from them and grow. In the West Wing, we see characters like Toby and Josh struggle with setbacks. Toby's failure in the military campaign, Josh's burnout, but they ultimately grow and adapt. The ability to view failure as an opportunity for growth comes from a deeper understanding of one's own internal strength, which is nurtured through consistent spiritual practice. The Vedic teachings stress that challenges and failures are opportunities for self development and improvement. Sadhana and mantra chanting create the mental space to transcend fear of failure and develop resilience. Leaders who practice these techniques are less likely to be deterred by failure, viewing it instead as a stepping stone towards greater wisdom and success. Just like in the West Wing, where characters confront and learn from their failures, spiritual practices help leaders develop the ability to transform challenges into growth opportunities. In moments of extreme pressure, ethical principles often come into play, especially in the West Wing. How can leaders stay grounded in their ethics despite political or personal pressures through spiritual practices? The foundation of ethical leadership is inner peace and clarity, which is cultivated through practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama. These practices help reduce internal conflict, enabling leaders to stay true to their values even when faced with external pressures. In the West Wing, characters like Bartlett consistently make decisions based on their ethical compass, such as when he refuses to use military force without full evidence. His ability to remain grounded in his ethics despite immense pressure is the result of his inner clarity. Spiritual practices support leaders in maintaining that inner balance, allowing them to act in alignment with their core values. In Vedic philosophy, ethics are rooted in dharma, which guides individuals to act in alignment with universal truth. Regular practices like Gayatri Japa, sadhana, and pujas help leaders develop an inner moral compass, making it easier to stay ethical under pressure. Leaders who practice these spiritual tools are less likely to compromise their principles. Even when faced with difficult decisions in the West Wing, we see Bartlett's unwavering commitment to ethical leadership. Despite the political cost, as a direct reflection of his inner integrity, a quality that can be enhanced through spiritual practices. Visionary leadership is a recurring theme in the West Wing, especially with characters like President Bartlett and Congressman Santos. How can spiritual practices like meditation help leaders clarify and stay aligned with their vision? Meditation helps to quiet the mind, allowing leaders to access a deeper sense of purpose and clarity. Practices like Sudarshan Kriya help clear the mental clutter, enabling leaders to stay focused on their long term vision. Even when short term challenges arise in the West Wing, Bartlett's ability to articulate his vision despite political hurdles comes from his ability to stay aligned with his values. Spiritual practices provide the tools necessary to connect with one's true purpose, ensuring that leaders remain focused on their long term goals. In Vedic tradition, the concept of dharma and sankalpa, intent or resolution, guides leaders toward a clear, purposeful life. Spiritual practices like sadhana and Gayatri Japa help leaders align their actions with a higher purpose, ensuring that their vision is not clouded by distractions. Just as Martin and Santos lead with a vision for change, spiritual practices support leaders in staying grounded in their long term goals, helping them stay focused on their mission even when faced with challenges. Jagodev, so the leadership lessons from the West Wing resonate deeply with the spiritual principles taught by His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. The integration of spiritual practices such as Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, Sadhana, and mantra chanting with the skills of effective leadership can help leaders navigate challenges with integrity, clarity, compassion, and purpose. By aligning their actions with higher values and cultivating inner peace, leaders can inspire others, create lasting change, and make decisions that benefit the greater good. Jai Gurudev. Jaguar, one of the core values of the West Wing is compassionate leadership. Characters like President Bartlett, CJ, and Leo often show deep empathy for those they serve. How can spiritual practices like satsang, seva, or selfless service and sudarshan kriya cultivate a leader's ability to lead with compassion? Compassionate leadership stems from understanding others' perspectives, being emotionally present, and leading with a sense of service. Spiritual practices like satsang and sudarshan kriya help leaders remove the stress and emotional clutter that can block their natural compassion. Through practices like seva and sadhana, leaders are able to strengthen their ability to empathize with others, allowing them to lead with care. In the West Wing, characters like CJ and Leo consistently make decisions not just for political gain, but for the well being of the people they serve. Thus, this compassionate leadership reflects a deeper connection with others, a quality that is enhanced by spiritual practices that promote mindfulness and emotional clarity. In Vedic teachings, compassion is an integral part of the practice of dharma. Spiritual practices like Gayatri Japa and Puja foster a sense of oneness with others, enabling leaders to act with empathy and compassion. In the West Wing, we see how characters like Leo, who is a deep believer in public service, exhibit selfless compassion for others, whether through their policy decisions or personal sacrifices. This is a reflection of the internal purification that occurs through practices like mantra chanting and satsang, which help leaders cultivate a heart centered approach to leadership. Many leaders in the West Wing are faced with the difficult, high stakes conversations, whether it's political negotiations or personal confrontations. These moments require skill and courage. How can spiritual practices help leaders navigate these difficult discussions? Navigating difficult conversations requires emotional intelligence, empathy, and the ability to stay grounded. Practices like Sudarshan Kriya and Pranayama can calm the mind, reduce anxiety, and help leaders approach tough discussions from a place of emotional balance. In the West Wing, Bartlett often faces high pressure situations where he must confront others, whether it's negotiation with the Congress or dealing with his own staff. His ability to remain calm, direct, and compassionate in these situations comes from his inner peace, which is nurtured through his commitment to personal reflection and growth. The ability to hold difficult conversations with grace and clarity is deeply rooted in the Vedic teachings of ahimsa, of non-violence, and satya, or truthfulness. When leaders practice sadhana and engage in mantra chanting, they are better able to align with these core values, which guide them to approach others with honesty and compassion. In the West Wing, we often see characters like Leo and Toby confronting hard truths with integrity, no matter how difficult the conversation may be. The ability to speak from a place of truth without aggression is an outcome of inner peace, which is achieved through spiritual practices that promote self awareness and clarity. Strong teams are crucial in the West Wing, and many of the best moments in the show comes from the camaraderie and mutual support between the characters. How can spiritual practices such as seva or selfless service and satsang help leaders build cohesive and supportive teams? Building a strong supportive team requires trust, collaboration, and a shared sense of purpose. Seva encourages leaders to focus on service to others, fostering an environment of mutual respect. Satsang, or the gathering of like minded individuals for spiritual discourses, helps build a camaraderie and understanding. When leaders practice Sudarshan Kriya and engage in regular sadhana, they create a sense of inner peace and harmony which they can extend to their teams. In the West Wing, we see how characters like Josh, Donna, and CJ have each other's backs during moments of crisis. Their teamwork is grounded in trust and shared purpose, which is amplified through their mutual respect and support. In the Vedic tradition, the concept of Sangha or community is highly valued. Leaders who engage in sadhana and participate in satsang understand the importance of creating strong supportive teams that operate with harmony and unity. By focusing on collective well being, leaders can foster an environment where each team member feels valued and supported. In the West Wing, we see how, even in the high pressure situations, the bonds between team members allow them to work together for a greater cause. This sense of unity and collective effort is something that can be cultivated through spiritual practices, which encourage leaders to be selfless and collaborative. Many of the most innovative ideas in the West Wing emerge through collaboration and sometimes through moments of tension and disagreement. How can spiritual practices like pranayama and sadhana help leaders foster a culture of creativity and innovation? Spiritual practices help quiet the mind, allowing ideas and creative ideas to emerge naturally. When leaders practice pranayama and Sudarshan Kriya, they increase oxygen flow to the brain, which helps clear mental blockages and fosters innovative thinking. Meditation and regular sadhana allow leaders to tap into deeper levels of creativity by promoting mental clarity and reducing stress. In the West Wing, characters like Sam and Josh often bring new creative solutions to the table, even when faced with the complex political issues. Their ability to think outside the box is a reflection of their open mindedness, which is supported by practices that calm and focus the mind. In Vedic traditions, creativity is seen as a divine gift that comes from inner peace and mental clarity. Practices like Gayatri Japa and mantra chanting help to harmonize the mind and spirit, encouraging leaders to think beyond conventional solutions. When leaders are at peace with themselves and their surroundings, they are better able to foster a culture of innovation. In the West Wing, characters like Toby and Sam, despite their different approaches, are constantly thinking creatively to solve the complex challenges they face. Spiritual practices provide the foundation for this creativity by reducing mental clutter and allowing new ideas to flourish. Jai Gurudev.